Treadle Peerless Platen presses were used for printing small jobs such as leaflets. The Titanic supposedly had a Platen press on board to produce daily menus.
Okay, it's a hand-fed Platen machine. The type of work that would have been done would be small business cards, leaflets, they're called flyers nowadays, and it would be just one colour at a time. It would have been the bread and butter of its day, if you like, for that type of for that type of work. It was hand-fed, and depending on how fast you can move it's treadle fed. It's by treadle movement. That type of movement, and depending on how fast you could do about 500, maybe 500 an hour would be acceptable, if you like. This here is the Platen, and that's the bed. Now the Platen is covered by a tinting sheet, which is this. Okay. Now it's packed. This is the packing. And it goes in there like that. And then it's clamped into position. And take the excess off. Now that's your Platen, and it's ready for printing. Naturally enough, as you print, you're using ink, so you have to replace it. Now that's what this duct is for, and it's used in long runs. You put the ink in there, it's set by these, you can increase and decrease the amount of ink across this roller here, thereby giving an even flow onto the disc. But in short runs, it wasn't really necessary to use that, so you would just do it by hand. And it's spread around with each movement of the disc. This is the form. The form is the printing surface. Letterpress. The clamp here, like that. Now, I'm just checking that the frisket fingers, these are called frisket fingers, I'll point them out to you now. These are called frisket fingers. And the purpose for them is when the sheet is being printed, they grip the sheet onto the Platen so that the sheet doesn't stick to the printing form when it's inked, which can happen. I'm going to get an image on the tinting sheet, and I do that by means of this little lever here. If you just watch it carefully, I'll do it while it's stopped. This moves the Platen forward. You might have seen the movement for the impression purpose. And there you have an image on the Platen. Now, the idea is to get the sheets onto this Platen. Now this is A5. I suppose in former times it would have been called octavo. But it's an A5 sheet of paper, and it's going to sit there, but how do I have to hold that into position. It's not going to hold just like that. So I use what we call lays. Little pieces of type. I'm going to position these lays so that I have the image, and these are the lays, and the sheet will sit on those like that. So, to get it more or less centered, the image centered on that, this is the procedure I use. I'm using the width the depth of the type itself, the depth of the image area, which is that. That's the depth of the whole image area. And that's the amount of space left over. So I'm going to divide that space in two, just like that. And there's that crease line. What I'm going to do now, I'm dividing that space in two. So consequently, that's where one of my lays will go down there. And the same on the far side, here. And now the width. To position it so that it's more or less centered, the image is centered on the sheet. I'm actually getting the full width of the line of type. Just marking it. And that's the amount of space left over. So I'm going to divide that space over the whole width. I'll just illustrate it with I'll just draw a line so you'll see it. Now, I've 3 spaces there. That's where one lay is going and 2 more at the bottom. And these are the ones I was talking about. Yeah. So just to ensure that it'll stay in position, I'm going to put 2 sheets in there because that's wet and one will keep it dry. Now before we do anything else, I'm just going to move this brisket. Yes, it does move. You always have to be sure that there's nothing in the way of type, because if there is, it's going to damage the type. So you have to be doubly sure before you take a pull that all your movements are clearing the type surface. So now I'm feeding the sheet to be printed on the lace. I'm just bringing the impression on now to get a print. Now the printer then would look at this and see if there are any corrections to be made, if there are any low points, if there's a piece of type not appearing, and he would do what you call make ready. And he would do that by patching. If there was a low letter, he would put a piece of paper on top of the letter, thereby giving extra pressure when the sheet is in position like that, and on that one particular spot where the letter is low. You had to be sort of very accurate in placing the sheets down onto the lays, because if you didn't put these lays here and on the front, if you didn't put the sheet right up to the lay, you were getting a different position of the image on the paper. So that's where accuracy was called for. It was all manual, it was accuracy on the part of the feeder, the printer, and also accuracy in laying down the lays. Because if you had one higher than the other, you got a crooked image. And I think one way of checking that, by the way, was to line up the heads of the head of the type. There was a quick method actually of rather than breaking up and repositioning that, if it was, it's slightly off. So you would take out the form, now the direction in which you want to go, there's a slight, it's not exactly square. So if you look at it there, you see one edge is not, one end of the type is not in line with that end there. So you have to either bring this edge in this direction, or this one in that direction. So in this case, we will bring the word great down in this direction towards the tail of the sheet. Underneath here, where the form sits, the actual word is a lug, and the form sits on those lugs in there. You may not see it because the flywheel is in the way, but you put this piece of paper or prop in there. It was what you'd call a way out. Take another pull now and see. Now, you saw that the last pull, the word great was hanging a little bit. And it's got closer to where we wanted to have it. And to do that, you just build it up and bring it down. As it is, it's more than it's good and straight there at the moment.